Buru, Iboya, Ibuche, everybody in Cyberland. Fair Babalao. At least I hope so. Omo Odun Odileke coming at you with another great video. And you all know, full-time job. I'm running a spiritual house. I have a family. A lot of moving parts, right? So the beginning of 2023, as we started to kind of see Otura Ogunda taking shape, Ogun really making some work out of this year, we had to organize ourselves. And I think I'm there. I think I found a good place spiritually where I can organize myself. And here I am. Right? But like the beginning of any videos, right? I always like to say, you guys are my priority. You guys are definitely very important to me. And I hold these YouTube videos in high regards. Why? Because I think education to the force, right, at large, that means any practitioner or anybody who's interested in the Yoruba religion, right, or the Yoruba faith, because many of us believe that faith is more important than religion. Religion begins to build barriers, and we're not about barriers in the Yoruba. We're about breaking those barriers, and we're about evolution. That's Yoruba, right? And we're very religious tolerant, so it's not our way or the highway. We don't do any of that. But anyway, before we begin, I always ask you all to give me the like. I always ask, please give me the share. Then I ask, please give me the subscribe. Now, once we've done that, we have now taken it upon ourselves to educate our community. Now, if you are tuning in, I want you to understand the topic of today. The topic of today is back to basics. What does that mean? That means I want to go from a 1 through N. That means a 1 through, we'll see where this takes us, right? On what does a person coming into the faith from the beginning need to understand up to the point where they receive their mano de orula, right, and their warriors, to the point where how do I attend them? And then we're going to end with a little bit of conversation on where should that journey take you further. So, without further ado, let's get back to the basics. Okay, now, here's something that we always have to take into consideration. Spiritual leaders. Spiritual leaders. For example, I pride myself in being a spiritual leader for my godchildren. I pride myself in leading, teaching, so that they can begin to lead and teach in the future. Because our faith deserves that level of attention. Now, some people, we have to look at the reality of the world. Some people are really good at doing ceremonies. Some people are really good at teaching. But very few people are good at both. Now, no different than anything else in this world, some people have good intentions. Some people have bad intentions. That's the way the world works. Which is another reason why step number 1 for anyone coming into this faith is to build the religious tolerance and the understanding, right, to see through all the clouds and all the fogs that this world has to offer. Why? Because you will be pivoted, you will be challenged, you will be ridiculed possibly by the things that you believe, especially if you're in the Yoruba faith, right? Because what do people see about our faith? They see the sacrifices of animals. They see, in some senses, they even see the negative aspects of maybe even some of our spiritual priests and priestesses taking advantage of people. We see a lot of those type of headlines. And the reason why you see those headlines is because in this world today, we gravitate towards the negativity, not necessarily the positivity. Because news, right? News is what people go after. And news that has a lot of hype and a lot of drama, right, is where people go and gravitate to. But I want to tell you that I think there's a lot more good than bad in this faith. So that's number one. Understand the world that you live in. Understand what is the Yoruba faith. The Yoruba faith, at the end of the day, is believing in one God. Believing that God broke up energy in many different ways to create the universe, which in essence, we focus on this world, this earth. And we understand that this earth is affected by the moon and the sun and the energies of nature. And all those things that are beautiful are found in the Yoruba faith system. Understanding that takes you far. Natural, it's a nature-based system. We talk about the flow of energy. Understanding what you're getting yourself into is step number one. Step number two, find someone you trust to lead you. Again, I take pride in leading my ile. I take pride and joy in seeing my godchildren grow and flourish and challenge me, because I have godchildren that challenge me. And they ask the tough questions that require tough answers. And that's the way a relationship should work. Because every spiritual leader's big prize at the end of the day, before they die, is that they were able to force multiply their knowledge into others. And as other people grow with that knowledge, they build their own perspective and they begin to strengthen what it is, our faith system. Pick the leader that works for you. Pick the leader that's going to teach you. Pick the leader that you're going to be able to communicate with to a certain extent. Because something that I thought was very odd is that I see people go to Nigeria and there's a language barrier. I see people go to Cuba and then there's a language barrier. I see people go to Mexico, language barrier, etc., 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 etc. I think first you need to be able to communicate. I think you got to be able to understand that spiritual leader needs to teach you. I think you need to have that relationship and build that rapport to ensure that this is someone that you want to grow with, right? Because there's not jumping around. There is no jumping around in this faith. I hate the jumping around in this faith. I see the necessity because not everybody's getting the proper attention and we have to be there to help those people. But man, I'd rather someone grow and receive their consecrated items from that one babalao. And in that one babalao's house, there's an olorisha, whether it be the wife or the spouse or someone, right? And in the house, that collective nature, right, of energy and the flow of energy and the flow of eguns, because all those things matter, you're going to see you would have a better outcome if it all flows just right. But it all starts with the beginning. Understanding, picking the right leader. All right. The next thing I'm going to tell you, that in this faith you have multiple lines of effort, right, that lead to the big grand prize. Olodumari's vision, God's vision on how we should walk. Right? You have things that are going on with Orisha cults. You got things going on with Ifa cults. You got things going on with the Egun cults, which are your ancestors, etc., right? The spirits. I'm going to tell you all roads start with Ifa. That is my next piece of advice. Don't do anything else unless you start with Ifa. Understand who is your guardian Orisha, which means a lot and tells us a lot before you can do anything else in this faith. The second thing, I get to understand what is your Odu. What is your Odu in this faith? With your Mano de Orula, which is your Awofaka or your Ikofa, I can now begin to build a dossier of your guardian Orisha and your Odu put them together along with your prophecy and other things that come out of your ita, which is the guidance given to you at the end of that initiation, right? And we're able to put that together to build a dossier, a roadmap that will help guide you. And then you can get into these other sects of orishas and eguns and etc. But first we need to understand that you jumping into those different areas are not going to affect you. Or maybe you need to do something before you get into those areas. Or maybe you have something with one area but not both areas. And all those things need to be better understood. And there's different ways to navigate through that. But everything starts with Ifa. Okay. Now, you now understand a few things. Now it's important to understand, how do we navigate now that we have our Ita? Now you have the destiny. Now you understand your guardian Orisha. Now you understand where you're going. My suggestion to each and every one of you is that you need to now begin to understand who are your ancestors. Build that ancestral connection. Build that understanding that the eguns are important in your life. Right? So that means that you should have a bóveda. You should have an altar. You should have someone guiding you through that. In our ile, my wife is the one who takes care of that, because my wife specializes in the eguns and the orisha cults. So therefore, she will take the godchildren. I guide them through Ifa. She guides them through orishas and eguns and etc. We move on, and we build that collective tissue in order to grow together, and that's a beautiful thing. That's what you need. Now that we got the eguns under control and we understand where we're moving with the eguns, right? It's also very important to understand that within eguns, there are two concepts. Within Ifa, we believe heavily in the teja de egun, the clay tile of egun, right? When we talk about Oturanico and Irete Hierro, and we talk about the male eguns, egun okuni, egun obini, and we talk about that aspect and understanding that we need to align ourselves with eguns. And Ifa helps you do that. But also with Ifa helping you do that, there's a concept called the bove. That's where the spirituality, the spiritualism comes in. And olorishas and paleros are good. Those other two cults are really good at that. So you build your bove. Okay, I'm going to tell you something, and I'm a Babalao. I work Ifa, I don't necessarily work the other angles. But stay simple. 7 glasses, a nice cross on top, right? Has nothing to do with Jesus Christ or nothing. It's just a cross, right? That represents a little bit deeper into the essence of who is Eshu, but we're not going to get into that. As we begin to kind of grow through that spirituality of things, that's your simple, basic foundation. 7 cups. 3, 3, 1 in the middle. 3, 3, 1 in the middle. And you begin to see that that's a basic setup. And as you begin to receive your spiritual masses and you begin to kind of get into different aspects of the bóveda and you start to understand your spiritual framework, your cuadro espiritual, right? That is when you begin to manipulate that bóveda and switch it into a version that works for you. Because there is no cookie cutter. Everything is a basic setup that evolves around you. There's no cookie cutter approach. And I'm going to say that again. There is no cookie cutter approach in this faith. And it's when you receive that first spiritual misa that you begin to understand, do I need to get scratched? Do I need to go to palo? What am I doing spiritually, right? To include the bóveda. Things need to be understood that way. Another concept that you really want to hang on to, right, is understanding what divinities are you going to receive and at which time. I would tell you now that it's very rare that I ever see someone not receive Oloku fairly quickly, right? Probably within the first year, maybe even the second year of receiving Mano de Orula. Olokun is very important in this faith. And there's 2 versions of Olokun, right? There is an Olokun version of Ifa and a Olokun version of Ocha, which have two purposes, right? They each got their own purpose. But it's going to be up to that spiritual leader to guide you on which one you should be receiving first. Because Olokun is heavy duty. Olokun is a divinity that we honor, we respect, and we want to ensure that it's the right one for you. That's Olokun. Now, as we begin to navigate these waters, now you get into the aspects of where do you want to go? What does your guardian Orisha permit? What does your Ifa tell you should be going if you want to continue to grow in this faith? And again, there might be other divinities that are laid out that you need to receive based on your Odu and based on your guardian Orisha. And that's okay. But I'm just giving you the basic foundation, right? That's why it's called back to basics that you need to understand. Now, I want to dive now into a different area of this conversation, right? I want to talk about what is it that you received when you got your mano de Orula, when you received your warriors in Orula, right? Well, within Ifa. And I have some props. And I say props. Why? Because none of this is consecrated. Nothing here is consecrated. This is a caldero, a very standard caldero, right? Steel pot. In this steel pot, you're going to begin to see that there is a lot of tools in here. Okay? A lot of tools. Right? And there's a very standard set of tools that go in here. Watch me count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, 9 tools. All right? Which is the correct number. Right? You should have 9 tools in there. In addition to this pot with 9 tools, you should also have 2 rocks. Right? You're going to have one rock that's going to be distinctly a little bigger than the next rock. Let me show you. This rock is bigger than this rock. The bigger rock is typically Ogun. I'm not going to tell you that it's Ogun, but I'm going to say it's typically Ogun. A lot of seasoned Babalaos, we know to take the bigger rocks and ask Ifa if that rock walks with you with Ogun, right? And if it doesn't, then we ask for another big rock until we find the one that matches you. Remember, no cookie cutter here. And then the smaller ones, we do the same thing for Ochosi. Okay? Now, everyone always asks, what do I do with my pot? What do I do with Ogun and Ochosi? Why do I have 2 rocks? Why do some houses have 1 rock? All those things are legit questions. Back to basics. 2 rocks is the right answer. Why? Because when you look at Ogun Damasa, right? You look at the aspects of when Ogun and Ochosi met in an Ifa sign of Ogun Damasa. So therefore, in a Ifa warrior setup, you have 2 rocks. Hey, that's how I do it. That's the way my godparents taught me. That's the way my lineage does it. So for me, that's right. Other lineages do 1. I'm giving you the justification on why it's 2. Because it was Ogun and Ochosi that met when they went to Orumila for consultations in order for them to find the balance to survive in this world. And they came out with the sign Ogun Damasa, which says that with unity comes strength. And Ogun and Ochosi, since that day, live together. And this is where they live. Makes sense? Perfect. How do we attend them? Well, Ogun and Ochosi, right, just like any other consecration in this faith, comes by way of a rock. A rock. Okay? And Ota. You take some palm oil, a little bit. You take some honey, and you mix it together. Okay? And you take the rock and you talk to Ogun. You breathe on Ogun. And you rub them down and you say thank you. And this is not a magic 8 ball. This is not a a genie, right? This is not a magical lamp. In this faith, you ask for the big things, the things that matter: love, prosperity, tranquility, peace, health, blessings. Ask for the big things. Forget about the little things. $20 million, a fancy car, this, that. No. Forget all that. Forget all that. Trust me. Back to basics. Follow what I'm telling you. As time evolves, there's a time and place for everything. This is not it. This is not it. Okay, another rule that I want to tell you is anytime that you have something like this that's open and it has a consecrated item inside, get used to saying aguleo, aguleo, permission, permission. In this faith, we believe heavily in respect. And we got to respect the orishas. We got to respect the consecrated items. So before I lift this, if this was consecrated, I would say aguleo ogun ochosi. If I'm going to attend them, aguleo ogun, big rock. Aguleo ochosi, little rock. And I always use my right hand in this faith because that's the respectful way of looking at your hand. This is your work hand. This is where you work with and you transfer energy with, is with your right hand. Your left hand is where your heart is closest to. And we preserve and we protect. Makes sense? Okay. That is your Ogun and your Ochosi. Now, another way of attending these warriors, Ogun and Ochosi, is you can put a hikara with oti, with gin, with rum to a certain extent, but it's called oti. So if you have something that's really potent, that's even better, you're going to put it right next to the pot, because I want you to understand something about blowing direct rum on Ogun. It's activating Ogun and Ochosi. And Ogun and Ochosi are warriors. They're impulsive, and a lot of times we don't need war in our lives. We're not trying to activate warriors. You're not trying to have all these warriors around you, right? And you got them activated, and there ain't no war, right? Think about it. Cocked and loaded, and for what? So be mindful about how you attend them and how you blow that rum on it, right? So, food for thought, okay? Palm oil, honey, is perfect. Rub them down. Some rum and a jicara, unless you're having some troubles, and then you can actually take the rum and blow on them. If you're working something particularly with ochosi, you want to stick to something with anise. That has an anise herb or ingredient, right? Like sambuca. That's the preferred oti for ochosi. Where Ogun, gin, and something stronger and more potent is also a bit is a preferred choice for Ogun. Now, as we begin to rotate, we now understand this guy. Now, this is just a representation of Eshu. But this is absolutely not a Eshu. This is absolutely not even a mold that I would use. It was something that I had around here because someone left it here. Someone didn't want to take it home with them. They said, hey, they bought it. And I told people all the time, be careful on what you buy, right? But anyway, let's say this Eshu is now mounted, right? Is now mounted, is consecrated. This is your Eshu. Looks all pretty, has the feather going up with the nail. Is looking all jiggy with it. Got a little crown. Phenomenal. All right, this is your Eshu. All right. Eshu lives on a clay plate. Boop. Nice little clay plate. And in that clay plate, that is like his world. Okay. That clay plate has a lot of representation. Why it's very important. It's got to be round. And he lives on his clay plate. He's minding his business, right? And he's there. When you're going to attend Eshu, you're going to do the same thing you did with Ogun Ochosi. But this time, instead of putting honey, just put palm oil. Eshu has to always keep palm oil all over him. And in that nice clay plate, because clay is a representation of earth, I want you to put Judea, right, which is a crushed up rodent. I want you to put some fish, right, roasted, grounded fish. I want you to get some roasted corn. I want you to put it on his plate. And then I want you to put some of that honey right there in front on top of those ingredients on his plate. And that's how you attend. That's how you attend Eshu, right? And even then, you can even take a cigar. And if you want to blow cigar smoke over your warriors and Eshu and you want to get all jiggy with it, Mafarafung Eshu and the warriors. Boom. Do it. It's okay. All right? More importantly, when you light up a candle, because you should light up a candle to give light to the divinity. Let the light shine on the divinities. Let the divinities see you for who you are. That's what the light is going to do. Allow them to see you. Turn on the candle every time you attend them. Now, that is Ogun Ochosi and that is Eshu. Okay? Now, when we talk about Eshu and Ogun Ochosi, there's something else I want to make sure that we understand. And it's when do we attend them? The goal is every week. You're not going to see me tell you do it every Monday. It's 2023 and people get busy, right? So I want people to adjust their schedules. And as long as they're doing it weekly, then that's acceptable. That's the basics. That's the foundation. Do it every week. If your week is on Wednesday, it's on Wednesday. If it's on Friday, it's on Friday. It is what it is there. Because I don't know what your work schedule is. Maybe you work, Saturday through Wednesday. And maybe Thursday and Friday is your days off. I don't know. Not my concern. But I tell you, just do it once a week and you should be fine. Another rule about attending any type of orishas, divinities, etc. Try not to attend at nighttime. When the sun sets, it is time to rest. All right? For all aleyos, this is back to basics. Aleyo should not be working when the sun is down. It is time to rest. Okay? All right. Now let's get to my favorite part. Pam pam param. Orumila. But pam parara osun. And again, these are not consecrated items. These are props in order for me to better explain how we are attending these guys, right? Because if it was real, I would have said mafarafun, I would have said aguleo orumila. Aguleo osun as I picked them up. In Orumila's casing, we always want to point north, south, east, west, look away, and say Aguleo Orumila, asking for permission. And then we can dig in. For Osun, there is no moving parts here. Everything stays closed, stays sealed. There are secrets that need to be preserved, and you should not open it, because no different than if you open a car battery and that acid was in there, you're letting out the energy. And good luck getting that energy back. All right? So leave Osun closed. All right? Because Osun is the communication medium. Osun lives with Orumila. Osun is the one that's giving you kind of that compass as you navigate your destiny that Orumila gave you through your Odun and your guardian Orisha. Okay? Inside your Orumila, you should have, and let me make sure that I have a nice prop here for you. You should have probably a little wooden tablet, which I like to call your Ifa ID card. That's going to have your sign. It's going to have the date. It's going to have that, what your prophecy was, Ireo Solbo, who's your guardian Orisha, and boom, that's inside of your sopera, right? And then additionally, you're going to have an envelope, right, that has some Ache de Orula that goes inside your sopera, right? And you're going to have a rock, an ota, inside there. And you're going to have a certain predetermined amount of enquines. Enquines, right, are palm nuts, right? Palm nuts. Now, how do we attend Orula? Very simple. We take some palm oil, and I want you guys to use palm oil, okay? Palm oil, right here. Put it on the palm. Orula travels in packs, right? The 16 Meis were his disciples. The Mei stand for two. Everything's in twos, all right? So you grab Orula, and when you grab them, you always grab 2 inquines, right? I always trap one right in between my fingers, and I always carry one. And what I do is I will put it on my palm, where the palm oil is on. I will have the other one here, and I will rub both of them together, right? And I talk to Orula. Orula, I'm attending you. Thank you for everything. Always asking for the big 6, right? Love, prosperity, tranquility, health, blessings, you name it, right? Stability. And when you're done, you put him down, okay? A different technique is taking out all the inquines all together, right? If you take out all the inquines all together, right? And then you transfer them into a jicara of some sort, right? You grab a jicara, right? And you transfer the inquines into the jicara, then life is good, right? Then after you're done with 2 at a time, rubbing all the palm oil in, breathing on them, you can just keep transferring them in and out, right? Rub, 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 rub. 2 down, 2 more to go. 2 down, 2 more to go. And you keep doing that, right? Over and over and over again after you rub, rub, rub. And I tell you, when you're done rubbing them all down, you're going to grab them all again. And you're going to breathe. And you're going to talk to Orula. And give thanks to Orula, right? All right. Now, for some of you, you're not going to have that many inquines. For some of you, you're going to have 1. And that's okay. They're predetermined, and then they're altered later on as needed. That's okay. That's a babalao thing to worry about. But some of you may not have 2 inquines, so then you will use the rock as a replacement. So, for example, here's the rock, right? So I grab the rock. Again, I trap it again with my fingers. And then I go and I grab my only 1 inquine. And I have the palm oil already done, right? And now that I got the palm oil in my palm and I put the palm nut there, I take the rock and the palm oil and I just do a nice little rub. Talking to them again. Putting it down, back inside the sopera. Closing the sopera. And boom, there we are, right? That's Orumila. That's Orumila. Now, Osum is very simple. Osum is pure. Osum is beautiful. Osum is your 5G or your 6G or whatever you want to call it, your antenna. We want to keep Osum clean. We want to keep Osum pure. I want this little top here, which is very round, right? Again, this is not consecrated at all, right? This is a prop to show you. But that is the world. And that's Osum standing in the world. Just like Eshu stands in his plate, that's his world. All right? Osum needs to have a clear sight picture of what's going on. All right? So when it comes to Osum, what you're going to do is you're going to take some shea butter. You rub some shea butter around his dish here. You take some efun, which is cascarilla, a white powdery substance, right? You can go to any local botanica and buy it, and you're going to sprinkle it on, and Osum's going to be just fine, just the way he is. Now, when we talk about Orumila and we talk about Osum, we always know that if you are facing them, and this is Orula, right? Osum is going to sit in the backside of Orula, but on the right side, the worker side, all right? Not the heart side, but the worker side. Why? Because Osum is always working, always alert, always paying attention to what's going on. So that means that I am facing Osum. See, you're looking at Osum's tail right now. So that means that, boom, this is how he's set up. Now, if I was to flip it to you, right? And remember, cameras look different. This is how you would see it. Orumila's up front, over to the side, and Osum sits towards the back. Always vigilant. Always vigilant. Now, How often should we attend Orumila is the magical question of the day. Attend Orula as you see fit. But most importantly, if we had to put a number down for the sake of planning, do it once a month, right? Once a month. But not only once a month. When you see the moon phases about to complete themselves, right, and you're about to see another new moon phase come to light, attend your Orula. I promise you. I'm not going to dig into that, but at the new moon, that morning of the new moon, before the sun goes down, right, because we don't want to attend anything at nighttime, I want you to attend your Orula and your Osun. Mark my words, you're going to be good to go. All right, so that's Orumila, and that is Osun. We spoke about the warriors. We spoke about the frequency of attendance. I showed you how I will attend them. Now, when it comes to lighting up Orumila and Osun, one thing I did not add, you will use 2 candles on each side. Here's Orula, candle, and candle, right? So the candles are almost pillars in between, where Orumila and Osun are in between the 2 candles. Does that make sense? So here's Osun, here's Orumila. So there should be a candle here and a candle over here facing them. All right? Some nice adimus to put down for Orumila. As always, coconuts are good for all orishas. You're going to notice that yame is a really good treat for Orumila. You're going to notice that Ogun has a fury, so a lot of times we like to use fresh fruit, watermelon, cantaloupes, things to calm him down with those juices. Another reason why we don't blow rum directly on Ogun at times. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes not. Go see your elder. There's a lot of different things that you have to stay mindful of as you transition through how I maneuver the things that I have. All right? So I'm going to put this down now. All right. So now you have an idea. Now you know where you're going. Now you know what you have. Now is the time when the fun really begins. And this is when you can say, welcome to the land of Ifa. I understand the basics. I understand what I have. And now I need to understand where I'm going. Stay and stick to the basics. They will help you. They will guide you. I promise you, if you look at this video, play it over and over and over and over and over again, you cannot go wrong. And with that said, again, Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche, Cyberland, my pleasure as always coming at you. Iburu, Iboya, Ibucheche.